let's start by discussing the approach to employee experience design that you believe in. What do you mean by a whole person approach to human experience design, and why whole person, and maybe more interestingly, why human experience?
Wow, great question to start, David. So when we start talking about this concept of whole person, one of the things, and user experience will be my example of the opposite of what we talk about. Forever in the HR tech world, we've been talking about users. Users. And it's not really a very friendly way to talk about people that you want to engage in something. Let's do some user testing. Let's get some users. How many users are you going to have? One of the biggest problems with HR technology in general is adoption. So when we start thinking about why don't people adopt? There's so many things that go into that. But one of the big reasons is we don't actually design for them, and that starts by probably thinking about what we call them. They're not users, they're humans. And I think there's just something fundamentally wrong. I mean, I get where it comes from. It comes from a tech background spin, but overall, we haven't designed for people. We've designed for functions. And then we expect the people or the humans to engage in things that they don't even know how to spell. They don't know how to spell HR. So that's really the biggest shift, and just the start of where this conversation, which we can go into more, but is the shift from user to human. And how do I make sure that if I'm truly going to expect people, humans, to engage, that I treat them like humans?
I suppose it's, if we think about customers, we don't call them users, we call them customers. So
no, it was just a goofy way of thinking about, well, how many users are you going to have? That's a good way to license software. But if we're actually trying to endear people to us and get them to feel like we actually care, we probably should take them for what they are, which are humans.
And when you think about human experience as opposed to user experience, it's almost that user. When you think about user, it's almost the experience for the person using the tool is almost an afterthought. When you actually frame it as human experience, you're kind of putting it more at the center.
Yeah, I mean, David, you're familiar with the F word, right?
I'm a bit nervous about what F word you mean.
Yeah. Failure. We're not going to break the explicit, the non-explicit label on this podcast. No, it's all about feeling. Yeah. It's how do we make someone feel? That's the F word. And in 2022, everything we do around employee experience is all about feeling.
Yeah.
And how do we want someone to feel? Do we want them to feel like it's engaging? Do we want them to feel like they're part of it? It was designed for them. Do we want them to actually feel at the end like it was positive? One of the things you and I bantered about a little in the green room was a little, kind of like, hey, how do you measure experience? And I laugh when people, we've got to start a big stuff. Like, dude, I don't know if you've ever walked out of what do you call bathrooms over there? The loo?
The loo, or...
Yeah, you walk out of the loo and you see those dumb things that you're supposed to touch to say green, yellow, or red, like, how was the bathroom? They tell you to make sure you wash your hands, but then everyone's going to touch those things when they leave the loo. That's a real-time measurement of the experience in the restroom. Yet oftentimes we don't ask people in real time what their experience is or how they feel in what it is they're doing, whether it be consuming information from a report or from an analytical tool, or whether it be just going through an interaction. Notice I didn't say transaction, but interaction. How are people feeling? Notice I asked you when you started introducing me, how are you? Those words are really powerful. They're not hard, but they're really powerful.
And I think it links quite nicely to, if we are going to call it human experience design, if we're designing for a great experience that creates positive feelings, how important is it to understand the purpose of the humans that we try to deliver the experience to?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I mean, one of the things that we talk a lot about in experience design, and once again, people are always like, how did you ever shift from HR technology to experience design? There's no shift. It's the consumer has changed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when, you know, back at Ceridian and PeopleSoft, when we built this stuff, like, we didn't build it for end users, quote unquote. Like, we said we had self-service, but how derogatory. You know, we said, hey, guess what? You could dial up via a modem. There's an old word. You know, and if the other line doesn't ring, you're going to connect and download a Java applet and take 4 minutes. You know, and hopefully then you can change your address if you know what an effective date is. Like, all that stuff, that was just user stuff. When we think about humans, and we think about this whole person approach, it's really saying, and by the way, it's happening now even with some of this dumb return to work verbiage. And sorry to get a little off on a tangent here, but
No.
Like, return to work. Like, I don't know about you, but I've been working my arse off for the last 2 years. Like,
yeah, I think most people have, haven't they? That's yeah, I agree. It's a crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I must have missed the vacation notice, or that I was supposed to be off for the last 2 years. But like, return to work, like, it's return to office, which is the physical component of a person. But there's also the social component, the spiritual, which ties to purpose. There's the intellectual component to it. I mean, there's more to a person than just where they are physically.
Yep.
And that's really at the core of understanding people, you know, and understanding not just who they are by a number, but actually understanding how they work and how they want to work. The persona of that type of worker really helps you design to meet them where they are and where they're going.
In this series, we will be speaking to a range of senior leaders who are pushing a data-driven and digital HR agenda. Make sure that you subscribe via your podcast app of choice and also via our YouTube channel for free and regular interviews with the digital HR leaders of the future.